We're seeing the gruesome images which are causing brain damage to so many people from having to see the most horrible images they've ever witnessed. Today I saw a child with his arm blown off. I've never seen that before, just crying and screaming. They're causing serious political disruptions in this country, as well as the policy of manufactured starvation, Israel's manufacturing of a famine in Gaza to starve an entire population either to death or into leaving or into complying to orders to move into what will be a concentration camp in southern Gaza. And I think this is causing outrage, not just in the traditional quarters of the American left that have organized for Palestine, but within Trump's base as well, among people who are under 45, who are on social media. And it's reaching parts of the Democratic Party that it hadn't before. Like, it's starting to become a kind of a humanitarian cause that people who had tuned out Palestine as kind of radical left noise are forced to pay attention to. So first, I think we need to understand what's actually happening in Gaza right now before we address the political backlash in Washington, where, prominent pro-Israel Democrats and even pro-Israel neocons are being forced to acknowledge some degree of genocide is taking place in Gaza. Here's a video of what it's like to get aid in Gaza for the 85% of the population that is now food insecure. This is one of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation hubs. It's being filmed by people who are trying to get a box of the insufficient food that this criminal Israeli and US-backed Trump-tied enterprise is providing. This is a guy who I think has been shot and wounded. This guy's hearing impaired. This is the real life Hunger Games. I mean, that's just a slice of what it's like. 12 people were killed yesterday at a Gaza Humanitarian Foundation hub. Over 1,000 have been killed trying to get aid. You can hear the gunfire from Israeli tanks. Quadricopters are used to kill people. And a former Gaza Humanitarian Foundation guard has spoken out for the first time about what they saw while supposedly providing security at one of these concentration camp-like hubs.
You're a veteran of the United States Army who has been deployed to combat 12 times, 4 different wars. I've never in my entire military career have I been a part of, allowed, or bystander to the use of force against unarmed innocent civilians. Ever. And I'm not going to do it now.
This is from an Israeli report. Let's move ahead.
I don't have any accountability. The Israeli Defense Force engineers built the sites and decided where they would be. In reality, the sites put the population at a great disadvantage and put the population in danger.
You keep saying that the location of the distribution site are in areas which are far from the Palestinian population, and that creates one of the key problems. Can you explain why?
The sites were not set up in locations, nor were they set up in a way that was conducive to distributing or delivering humanitarian aid to a needy population. Thought of, oh yeah, the Palestinians can just come down here and get the aid. Well, 40-pound boxes couldn't have vehicles, couldn't have cars. They're on foot. Most of them don't have shoes, no water, going through active war zone areas as the Palestinians were finishing getting the aid that was on the site. The UG Solutions personnel began shooting in their direction, shooting at them, shooting at their feet, shooting into the berms to get them to leave.
While you were in Gaza, you have...
So before Israel began completely cutting off aid, the aid trucks into Gaza, after they resumed the slaughter in Gaza following the failed, unenforced U.S. Steve Witkoff ceasefire after Donald Trump came in, there were 400 sites maintained by the UN. I mean, and this was like throughout the war. Now there's one maintained by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. They had 3, and now there's one. And Israel has divided Gaza into several sectors. They have the Netzarim corridor of death, so people from the north can't get down to the first site, the only site, which is east of Rafah, in the middle of some desert. And then people have to walk for kilometers and kilometers, 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers through an active war zone in order to get these boxes. And then they have to be able to carry the boxes back. And the boxes are just thrown out for them. There's no means of organizing people except by shooting at them. Untrained US mercenaries who speak no Arabic are guarding these sites. And as we've shown with UG Solutions video at the Grayzone, then they call in the Israeli army for support, and then they start shooting everyone. The soldiers have said they even use quadricopters, dropping grenades and bombs on Palestinian civilians in order to enforce evacuation orders. So what would they do at these sites? They're killing hundreds of people. It is the most satanic use of humanitarian aid as cover for genocide. And that one Gaza Humanitarian Foundation site will be the basis for the concentration camp that Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has announced, where 500,000 people will be concentrated and they won't be allowed to leave unless they agree to leave Gaza entirely. Now, 115 international aid groups, basically any international aid group you can think of, has signed a statement describing food shortages in Gaza as mass starvation as the Israeli government siege starves the people of Gaza. I mean, this is just like mainstream, undeniable, Save the Children, Doctors Without Borders, Oxfam International, the whole NGO industrial complex. This is what happens when you break the entire UN system, besiege Gaza, and there are hundreds and hundreds of aid trucks lined up for miles waiting to get into Gaza, which are not allowed to get in because Israel will bomb them.
And what are they saying now? Instead of letting those aid trucks in, they're going to allow some other countries to do airdrops.
Yeah.
It was a scheme that was already done, but it was a stunt that was already done before when Biden was in office. And that ended up killing people, with aid dropping on people and killing them. And of course, meager amounts even getting in through airdrops because it's the most impractical solution possible. And it's only a stunt to cover up the fact that they're blocking all the aid from coming in. That's right there, loaded up on trucks. And you're seeing now people who've been denying there was famine, denying starvation, now being forced to admit it because it's getting so absolutely sick.
Well, we'll get to that.
That it can't be denied anymore. And for many people, even if they do get food now, it'll be too late because they're at that stage of starvation where actually it's too late, where the damage is already done. Even if they survive, the people will be suffering with irreversible conditions because of the starvation that they've endured.
And so in order to push back, it's really shocking. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, AIPAC, the Trump administration are now pushing this lie that it's the UN's fault. This is Mondo Weiss. showing what AIPAC is doing. But basically, for the first time, the Israeli military brought reporters to the frontier of Gaza, to Kerem Shalom, the Kerem Shalom crossing. And AIPAC is basically showing what was shown to the reporters, which demonstrates how much of a PR stunt this was, and says the food, medicine, and aid are in Gaza. The UN won't distribute it. Hundreds of truckloads are sitting there. The trucks are loaded. Demand they deliver. Well, the UN is demanding they deliver. They're not allowed to deliver. Israel will not allow them in. This isn't in Gaza, by the way. This is all under Israeli control. So it's just a straight up lie. And they're going to do anything they can to continue starving the population of Gaza.